Hey, welcome everyone in this new tutorial about Diablo like dungeon generator. In this video, we are actually going to clean up a bit one more time. So I'm sorry, these are kind of boring videos, but the previous we kind of rushed several features because I wanted them to I wanted to quickly wrap things up, actually to quickly implement more features, more exciting features. So we're getting a bit overwhelmed by our current cleaning, our current setup. So what do I want to do here? Reduce steps to start around. I want to find a reference to that function. I want to go to calculate steps to start in here. I just double click the reference. So what is this about? First thing I want to do is clean up that function, which has a lot of local variables and which has a name that doesn't tell me what it does. So I know calculate steps to start. I know what it does. So we're going to just comment that real quick. For each tile in the dungeon, so that's quite obvious. And then if we actually need to, how can I say that? How can I say that? I want to say that if we actually have, if this function has detected that some tiles need to be rechecked, so that's kind of obvious once again. So these are not the most useful comments. So reduce steps to start around. We're not going to call that this way. We're going to call that calculate step to start, because this is actually doing what that function does, but singular. So this is calculating the steps to start to this tile. So this is going to actually be located somewhere in here. So where are it is there. So we're going to put that in our layout, and then we're just going to think about what do we want to do here. We want to, do we actually want to, I'm thinking about what are the subcategories in here. So I'm going to just say, I'm just going to clean that function for now. So what is this doing? It's getting the tile around, finding out if any of the tile around is closer to start tile than our location. +1 obviously, because it's obvious that this was the thing I talk about. So if I'm calculating the steps to start from the 0 to the 1, from the 1 to the 2, I mean, the 2 is going to ask if the 1 is closer than start tile, so it's always going to say yes, and we don't want that case to trigger. So we need to ask if the previous tile is closer +1. So, and then we're adding, oh, I hit Control S, so it erased my comments. So what are we doing in here? We're actually making sure we loop through all tiles properly. Why several times if needed? That was in the previous videos. So this is making sure we're we're adding the tile around that might have been calculated earlier in the dungeon, in which I've been how can I say that? That's making sure we are not ignoring previous tiles that we already calculated when calculating an extra connection, a closer step when finding a closer steps to start. So I'm sorry that's a bit confused. I hope you understand what I mean when you consider the previous videos. So where was our function with all the local variables? Our end-tile function. So this is where things get messy. Get all tiles step to start. All right. So what is this doing? This is making sure the final destination we find for our end tile has enough room to spawn the end tile and the corridors. So we're actually filtering the location that cannot provide enough free space to contain the end tile plus the extra corridors. That's what we're doing, and then we're adding everything to the list of eligible tiles. So we have eligible connections. That's actually quite that's a correct name. We can understand what it is. 10 steps is not a proper name, I suppose. This is going to be eligible connections, steps to start. And then what else do we have? Further tile is quite good. We can understand what that is. Found room. So I suppose we might have several functions nested in here. So this is actually going to be, this might be a function that says you trigger an amount of times and then you get out of there. So we're going to try to collapse that to a function. It's working. This is going to be find room for end tile or discard. We're going to branch. We're going to we're not going we're not forgetting to connect the true. This is going to return a boolean. And this is going to be the starting location. In location, find room for end tile or discard. So we're just going to make sure it cannot, yep, it can fail to find the location, so it is not happy about that. We're just going to hit at F5. We're going to promote that to a local variable. That as well, we're just going to delete that. We're going to promote that to a local variable. It's going to be 0 by default. We're going to hit F5 once again. I mean refresh all nodes. So what are we doing in here? We're setting that to our temporary location. Then we're finding the locations around. Okay, this is good. And it can only find room. So now, in this case, if it does not find a room, it's going to say no. We're going to hit compile, go back to our add style to end layout, find room for end tile or discard. So did it allow us to erase something from our temporary variable? Temp location, we can delete that. Temp corridor, we can delete that. So what is this doing? This is I wanted to collapse that to a function as well. So this is actually getting all tiles, and then for each tiles, we are actually doing this quite a lot of times, if I'm not mistaken. I cannot find the references to that. That's a shame. And if I'm hitting additional tile, it's going to give me quite a lot of results and not the equal. So it does not find any. Alright. I actually want to transform that into. I might want to control that into a get all tiles. We're just going to jump to the next part, for the next part for now. Get furthest tile away. Further tile. So I guess this should be in here, and this might actually be a function. Actually we need to know how much is this a local variable. And tile step back. Yep, this is a local variable, so we actually need to get this out of here because this function is actually using this. But this function can actually be used without this because it actually get furthest tile. How are we going to do this? If I'm just getting that and promoting that to a function, I cannot, that's obvious why. It needs, because this cannot be transformed into a function. So how can it return false if we do not have enough minimum steps to start tile? So we're just going to break that. We're going to get all of this and we're going to promote that to a function. Then we're going to say we cannot do that. We're just going to hit Control Z. Hopefully, you you can also say expand node, I believe. Hit compile. It's F5. Okay, it's not happy. So we're going to say it's re-rolling the dungeon. Oh, it connected every back pin. We don't want that. If I'm hitting F1, oh, it just created our function anyway. We're going to delete the function. We're going to go back to our end style to layout. We're going to hit F5. I'm just going to hit play to make sure nothing broke. Hopefully. All right. So let's jump back to the next step, shall we? Did it found room? That's quite hard to see how I can factorize this on the fly. So everything is a bit slow and all. I'm just going to I think I'm just going to check out how I wanna organize my functions and let that aside for now. So it's starting to get big and all, and I'm kind of lost. So I just want to make sure I understand I can access the functions I want more quicker than we used to. So we're just going to say this is about our end tile. This is about class. Find random next location. This is not about the layout actually. Get tile class. This is about the layout is about building the grid building our tile layout. So get tile class is not about this. It is about finding what's the proper tile to spawn to a location. So we're just going to move that to our utility folder for now. So in our layout, this is a utility function for our layout. Several other functions are using it, so we're just going to say this is about utility for the layout. Connect tiles. This is also called by several other functions. So this is going to be utility, set connections enabled as well. Add tile to layout as well. This is about our start tile. So am I going to do that this way? It feels like I'm going to have one function in each category, and this is not how you want to clean things up. So I created a generic tile category, and I'm creating an end tile category, and then stepping back is about anything. I believe we are using it for several other functions. So we're stepping back for our generic tile, and that's all. So this is going to be I'm not going to rename that. I'm just going to put that in our generic tile folder. Calculate step to start. This is about our start tile. Like this. Utility, this is about spawning the tile. So we're just going to create a spawning category. Get tile location, this is also about spawning. Is location used? This is about our layout. This is strange. We got a layout utility function and a utility layout function. So we're just going to reverse that layout utility. Revert cardinal as well. So these are all pure function and these are all, that's the difference between. So I can put that in here. I have the right to, because I found a logic to that. If it's in utility, it's going to be a pure function. And if it's not, it's usually not a pure function. So I'm going to debug direction. This is about the layout as well. This is actually about printing. Our connection matching. This is about the layout. Find random valid tile. What is this? This is about spawning as well. So utility spawning. Get locations around. This is about our layout. Connected as well. Where am I coming from as well? Make empty directions as well. Should step back as well. And get location around as well. Debug is going to be in the same category than debug direction. We cannot. I'm in 4.17, so you cannot drag and drop function in this version. But if you are in 4.18, you can drag and drop your function. So we're going to have these categories, and this is not going to be system. Is this? It is going to be system actually. So if I'm opening up our event graph, I'm just going to make sure I have the proper commenting. I mean, at least I have stuff that tells me what it is from afar. Like this, I'm going to go to our spawn tile. We've done that in here. I mean, I'm not going to write the name of every comment, of every node, I mean. I'm just going to get all of this. I'm going to say this is calculating the layouts. We actually can promote that to a function, collapse that to a function, and we're going to put that in our generation steps. So this is going to be a generation step. So this is calculating the layout. Then if we should reroll the dungeon, we reroll it. So this is going to be collapsed to a function. This is going to be reroll dungeon. And this is going to be a system function. This way we can go there. We can promote that to a function, to a local variable, I mean. And we can go back to our generate layout function and delete that temp rerolls local variable we add. So teleporting the player. So this is fine. Like this. So we took care of this. Like that. It's quite obvious actually, but we're just making sure to understand what's going on. Generate extra connections. So this is kind of messy as well. So this is another place where we do that. So we're just going to, we might want to promote that to a macro. Collapse to macro. And so this is finding basically the core, the core tile of the dungeon. The core tile, so is core tile. I don't know how to call that. We just need one parameter in. We're going to delete the first one. So it's actually, we don't want to connect the second pin. We want to say this is yes and this is no. So we want to connect that in here. We want to hit F5 like this. We want to close everything but the last function we were in. So we were in our, where were we? In here. So for each tile we get the location around. For each tile we get the location around. The used location around. We get the connected tiles, and if they are, so once more, we in here we're already using our newly created macro. Excuse me, I snoozed quite hard. So we're also going to delete this and that and this and that. And we're going to create a branch that says, is the tile connected? And is the tile a core tile? Then we're going to connect the tiles with each other. For each tile, we get the tiles around. If they are connected, we connect them with each other until we used all the extra connections specified in the matrix, like this. Generate additional tile is commented, generate replacement tile is commented, steps to start as well, the layout as well. Our utility function are all quite simple. So our layout, so this is the dreaded function. We're stepping back, we're adding tile to the layout, that's quite simple. This is commented, this is quite simple. That as well. Is this simple? So when we add a tile to the layout, we're actually adding a tile that says I'm that far to the start tile, that far meaning being the amount of tile we added to the dungeon. It has empty direction. It is of the specified type, and we add it to that location, and we automatically connect it. So that's quite, I mean, I'm not going to comment that. Set connections enabled. This is all about filling our arrays. So find random next location. So find random, find next location, find valid location. This is going to be find valid location because this is not finding a random location. It can find something else. Find next unused location. I mean, it's just going to be find unused location. So if we're looking for, this is actually not checking if it's used. Find location. So this is just going to be, so we want to find an unused location in here. Do we? Why is it that we're never checking if the location is used? If we're not, so this is why we need to comment try add style to the layout. So it's finding the next random next location. It was called find random next location, but in this case it's true, it's finding the random next location. In this case it's finding the random next location. I'm just going to hit pause real quick